the Pathfinding like game. Now, the third part is going to come out on Thursdays for anyone who's interested. And what we'll tackle today is our book selection. So if we press play, currently we can click on our character, but what if we have multiple characters? What will happen then? Why is there a dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun. So let's try to create multiple characters and see what's going to happen. Let's actually move the camera as well, as it's slightly off. Give it a play. Now, if I click one character, it's fine, and I switch to another one. But what if I want to select all of them and move them all to a single point? Moving them one by one is not the most comfortable thing to do. So instead, I want to change this. And that will require us to modify some scripts, and to be precise, to modify player input controller. Now, firstly, let's create a new class. We'll start off by making a new class, and we'll call it our selection box, because this is what we're going to be creating today, a selection box. And let's make this class work first, and once this class is done, we'll work on using this class in our player input controller. So firstly, let's remove anything that we don't need and make this class a static class. So this is going to be used like a formula class that we just need to use. So we'll start off by making a private static texture 2D, and let's call it a box texture. And then besides that, we also want to have a public static rect get screen rect, like so. But what else do we need? We will also need a few more functions. So we'll need a public static bounds get viewport bounds, like so. And we'll need two more functions. So we'll need a public static void draw screen rect. And finally, we'll need public static void draw screen rect border, like so. Now let's comment and to what they do. So this will draw the border of the selection box. And this one here will draw the inside space of the box. Here we will get the viewport bounds for the selection box to grab the objects within the selection. So what that basically does is if we draw a box like this, anything inside the box gets selected. So in this case, this would be that specific icon. Anyway, back to code. And then at the top, we'll have get the position of the mouse in screen space, so it can be used to position the screen rect. So if you think about drawing a box, the first place where we click is our first point, and where the mouse is currently at is where our last point is. And when we let go, well, we have our start and end position basically. So our end position constantly moves while we hold the mouse button down, but when we let go, it finalizes as that input. Okay, so anyways, if we just carry on, so let's make a public static texture 2D. We're going to make an accessor for this function, and we're going to call it a box texture. Now, unlike usual, we're not automatically creating it, we're manually making it. That's because this needs to be done slightly differently than we would normally do it. Come on, use the small field. New texture 2D, and let's put 1 1. Box texture set pixel, and that's going to be a 0, 0, color.blue. So what we're basically setting up is how we're going to draw the our box. Come on, give me this moment. And finally, we need to do box texture dot apply, and that's just to apply the new texture that we have. And finally, we return our box texture, which is the small version, like so, and that removes the little error that we had there. So what this class is, it draws the box selection when left mouse button is selected, like so. Okay, so let's start by filling out all of these one by one. So these two will need some kind of a return. So let's write it down. So let's just pass some variables across. So we'll need to have a vector3, and let's call it screen position 1, and then vector3 screen position 2. And what we'll do with these is, so we'll do a screen position y is equal to screen.height minus screen position.y. What this does is it basically selects our vector3 to be at the position of where we click with the mouse based on the screen height. And we'll do the exact same thing for our screen position 2. So we just change this to 2 and 2, like so. And once that's done, so what this does is the origin from bottom left to top left. It's the origin points. There we go. And then we calculate our corners. And that's done with so let's make a top left and make a variable bottom right, like so. And let's fill them out. So we'll have a vector3 dot min, and we'll put our screen position 1 and screen position 2. We'll do the exact same thing for our second variable. However, instead of using vector3.minimum, we'll use vector3.max. And again, screen position 1, screen position 2. And with this, we can create our direct. And we do that by simply returning rect.min max rect top left dot x top left dot y bottom right dot x and bottom right dot y. There we go. So that's part 1 of 4 parts done. Now we want to do the bounds. So for the bounds, we need to pass through a camera. We need to pass in a vector3, which is again going to be our position 1 and position 2. So I'm just going to copy them over from here. So let's create some variables. So we'll have our first variable, and I'm just going to make it screen.position screen to view point port, and then we'll put screen point 1. We'll create another variable which is the exact same thing as this one. It's just that we'll pass our second point, like so. We'll have 2 more variables. We'll have a minimum and a maximum value. And just like in the examples above, we will use a vector3.minimum and max, and the exact same thing for maximum. But of course, instead of using vector.minimum, we will use vector.max, like so. Now, finally, we now need to set the z of our minimum and maximum values, and we do that by doing camera.nearClipPlane, and for minimum.z for the maximum, sorry, we just do camera.farClipPlane rather than the near one. And with this done, we can draw our bounds by doing a new variable of type bounds. And then we just do set min max, and we pass through our min and our max. And then we just return the bounds, like so. Now with this, we have two more functions to populate. Now the next two are going to be much shorter than this one. So we'll have our rect, and then color. Now, as you can imagine, this will be GUI.color is equal to color, and then GUI.draw texture is equal to, it's not equal to, it's a rect.box texture, like so. And then finally, GUI.color is equal to color.blue. Because that's going to be our color we're going to use for this box. And finally, we will draw each of our corners. So we need to draw the top border of the selection box. Let's copy this command 4 more times. So 1, 2, 4. So we'll have our top, we have the left border, we have the right border, and we'll have the bottom border that we need to draw. So how do we draw this? We do draw screen rect, and we do a new rect, and we'll do, actually we need to pass in from some variables, don't we? Rect float thickness of how thick the border is going to be, and of course we need the color, like so. Okay, let's try this one more time. Draw screen rect, new rect, and then rect.x minimum, rect.y minimum, rect.width thickness, and after the bracket we just put in the color, like so. And that's the first one done. I'm going to copy these and just change what we have to change for each of the borders. So let's have a look at our left one. So we keep this the same, keep this the same. Wait. Oh yeah. So we're going to put thickness here. And what we're going to change here at the end is we're just going to do rect.height. We'll do the exact same thing here, although we'll just do, no, we're not. Wait, let's just do them one by one because I'll get confused. So for our right border, we'll do .xmax. Then we'll be doing that minus thickness. Minus thickness. And then rect.y min. And then we'll do thickness here. And then finally, rect.height. This is not something you have to memorize off the top of your head. If you understand how the rect boxes work, you can, of course, just figure this out on your own. But these kind of things you can find everywhere online. That will explain exactly what you have to do. Okay, so let's get rid of these and write that one from beginning. So we're gonna have rect.a max minus thickness, and then we need rect.width, and then I believe thickness again. Okay, this should work, I hope. If not, we'll come back to this later. Okay, now first, actually, can I get, yeah. Now that we have this class done, let's go back and into our drawing board. Oh, I feel like you know, before I crashed for a second. So what are we going to do now is we are going to expand here on our agent controller. So let's change selected agent to selected agents and change this to a list. And then Now, the reason why we changed this into a list is, and now we need to get rid of some, well, actually, let's not comment anything out for now. So with this changed, let's add a temporary variable. So let's just call this a temp variable. And we're going to call this public game object all possible selection agents, like this. Later we'll move this to a different class, maybe some kind of game manager. Variable. I need to move to game manager later, like so. Okay, now we definitely know it's a temporary variable. Now with this done, let's create two more fields. So let's create two privates. Let's create a private bool, and we're gonna call this the drag selecting, and private vector 3, and that's gonna be our player mouse, like so. We already have camera. We have our left and right clicks. So first, let's expand on our left clicks. So this is fine, but this has to now change. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to create a for loop, and we're going to do selected agents.count. And we'll literally run this code for every single agent. So let's add an S here and put an I in here like this. And we can get rid of this. Now, with this done, so after we select, we actually want to clear the list every time. Dot clear, like so. And we want to do our drag selection to true. Now, the reason why is because at that point we've clicked with the mouse, so we might choose to do the drag select. And for the next part, we don't actually have to change this around. All we have to do is just do this like so. Actually, no. Dot add like this. Now, because this will only handle the single click, we can just add that one click that we just did, and you can still do, actually, if selected dot count is higher than 0, then we'll just do selected agents at point 0, because at this point we'll only have one because it handles single clicks, so that's fine. And now we have our old functionality back. Now, for this, we need to essentially copy our for loop. So let's copy the for loop. And instead of this, let's just make this and do if selected agents dot count is higher than 0. Then what we're going to do is selected agents I dot move to the hit position, and we can get rid of this. We no longer need this. Oh, did I miss? Okay. So with this, we have returned to our old functionality. Let's just give this a try, see if it works. So I click, I go, yeah, there we go. So everything works like it did, but we're using a list instead. So now let's add our extra functionality, and this is actually going to be very simple. So if we look at where we finish our selection, which is here, down here, we'll just add if input dot get mouse button up. So that's when we let go of the mouse button, like I explained in the previous example. And of course, that's going to be a key 0 because it's a left class click. We're just going to do for each. And then let's just do a game object. Let's call this a selectable. And that's going to be in our all possible selection agents. We're just going to do if is within, what is it called? Within Do I not have wooden? How did we call it here? Wait, are we missing something? Oh, that's right. I need a function. I need a function that I didn't create. I tried to call straight the selection box, but that's not what I actually have to do. So let's do two more functions here. So first, let's make a selection box drawing. We'll have one for selection box drawing, and then we'll have a bounds for square select. So for the first one, we'll do a private void on GUI, and that will do if our drag selection thing. And what we'll do here is var rect is equal to box selection. No, selection box. Selection box dot get, and then we'll put our player mouse, and the second screen is our input dot mouse position. So if you remember, our player mouse, actually, did we not assign our player mouse anywhere? Actually, yeah. So what actually has to happen is when we drag select, we need to do player mouse is equal to input dot mouse position. So it's like I explained. The first click is where the top left corner is of our UI, and then of course where we let go is going to be our current mouse position. Okay, so now that we have this, we do our selection box dot draw screen rect, and we'll do rect new color. You can of course change these values to be whatever you want, and you can either make a variable that changes to. I'm just going to leave it as that. There's no point to change this. Draw screen rect border. Let's do a rect to new color. Maybe later I'll play around with this. We'll see. Like so. Of course, it needs an F at the end. Now, with this section, this function is complete. Wait, what is this region for? Oh, that shouldn't be in 11. Hashtag end region. Box selection. Okay, so here we will create a private. Actually, let's make a private bool. It is within selection bounds, and we will pass in a game object. And what we'll do is if we are not drag selecting, then of course we have to return false because we're not actually doing anything. But if we are actually selecting, then we'll just do viewport bounds is equal to selection box dot get viewport bounds, and we'll pass in our camera, our player mouse position, as well as our input dot mouse position, which is our current position of the mouse. Finally, we will return the viewport bounds dot contains, and we will do camera dot to world to viewport point, and we'll get our game object dot transform dot position like so. And with this, if we go into our for each loop, we can now finally get our bounds, and we will do that by is within selection bounds. We pass in our selectable because that's every single object that we have from the list of available objects, and then we will do selected agents dot add, and we will do selectable dot get component, and the component is called what? Agent controller, like so. And finally, for each of our selectables, we will have to get a component and actually show that they're selected properly. So I think it's called selected interactable dot enable. Dot enable selection. And finally, when we finish our input, we set our drag selecting to false. Now with this, we should have the entire drag selection system done. Let's give this a try. Oh, that's actually, firstly, we need to add in our characters before we do anything. I feel like I fudged something up though, as always, because we're already getting errors. Yep. Hello. Thank you for giving me errors. Okay, let's go. It's funny because the text test it before, and I was like, it probably works. Okay, let's go bit by bit. So here we have this color min by pom pom pom. Nope, this should be okay. What about the color drawing? Is that it? No way. It was. Oh my god. Okay, so the real question is, no, it's fine. Why is it not interesting? So there's still some issues right now, although it kind of works, but it doesn't work at the same time. There must be something wrong. So the draw selection works fine. What did we get wrong though? Because we can select all of them at once. So let me just show you how it's going to work like when it's going to be slightly fixed. So they all move to the correct position, and then we unclick and they unselect. But why is it not selecting individual pieces? Where did we go wrong? Where are we? The manager. So that's all fine. Okay, I'm just going to double check all of the code. And if not, I'll just do some checking off screen later on, and we'll just continue with what we have to do. Okay, so that should be fine. It's usually the little stupid thing that I get wrong, and then I never notice what it is for ages. Right, so top left dot x, top left dot y, bottom x, bottom. Yeah, bottom right. That should be fine. What about you guys? Far, near, creating the bound, but the bounds get drawn properly. This should be where the problem is, right? No? Yes? Okay, let's give this 2 more minutes if I can't find. Actually, let's go back to our player selection real quick. Should be passing through everything properly. Rolled to viewport point should be fine. This should be fine too. Okay, whatever. I'll have a look at it later. It doesn't matter for now. I can spend an hour looking at an error and not find the answer, or I can find the answer within the 5 minutes. Same way I spent 20 minutes a few days ago, and it turned out that the slash was the wrong way around. Okay, so other thing that I wanted to do today is move the flags. So when we select everything now, hello, we have a flag, which is fine, but let's select each individual one. It moves that flag around, but I kind of want them all to have their own flag, so it's not just one flag per object. So what we're going to do is we're just going to change how this works. So if we go into the agent controller, here we have a destination flag. What I'm actually going to change this to is, well, I'm going to hide the fact that it's serializable, and I'll just create a new game object. And I'm going to actually, let's create our game manager finally. A script, because there's several things that we want to do with we need the game manager for, and I feel like this would be a good place to have it. So let's create the game manager. Okay, so in the game manager, first thing I want to get is a private, and that's going to be a game object, and this is going to be a flag object, like so. And then we need, what else did we need? We needed something from the player input controller. Oh, we need lists of all the active players. So let's just do a private game object, and that's going to be all active players. And of course, that's going to be a list. We will be able to get them, but not set them. That's something that the game will do by default on the start. And let's make another thing, which will be a public static game manager, and let's call it instance. Now let's set up the instance in await function, and we'll do that by doing instance is equal to this. Now with this setup done, let's populate everything in here. So let's add a game manager. For our flag object, we need a prefab of a flag. So let's grab the flag, drag into our prefabs, delete it from here, go into our game manager, drag in the flag, and for all of our active players, we will just drag them in 1, 2, and finally 3, like so. Now with this done, all we need to do is just change the code so it runs through everything from the game manager. So what we'll do here is in our agent controller, oh, actually, has destination was meant to be changed as well, if I remember well. I just kind of forgot about this point. So right now, this is empty. So when we first start, what we want to do is we want to instantiate a new flag for them. So we'll just do game object go is equal to instantiate, and we'll do game manager dot instance dot flag object as game object, and then we will simply do destination flag is equal to go, and we'll just do, yeah, that's fine. Now for our player input, all we have to do is change, where are we? Wait, player mouse is where we start. Okay, whatever. What did I want to do? Oh yeah, was in the for each. Where's the for each? There we go. So this will be changed to game manager.instance dot all active players. Well, it's technically not active players, but, and we can remove this now. Now with this done, there is one more thing that I wanted to do, and that's to judge the distance and set up the camera for next part. So what I mean by judging the distance is, let's close every class we don't need and go into player controller. So we have this destination thing. Now, if I click here, oh, they actually just pass through each other for now. The flag doesn't disappear. The flag should disappear if we get close to the flag. That's basically what I'm gonna do. So I'll create a float. If our destination is not known, I'll create a float and we'll call it distance. And we'll just use vector3.distance to determine how far away they are. So we'll do vector3.distance. What do we have between our flag object and this transform.position? So and then let's just debug dot log and then put through the node distance so we know how far they are numerically. How do we get to? So we get to about this. This is our as close as we get. So let's do 1.1. So if the distance is smaller than or equal to 1.1f, then that's where we want to reset everything. So by reset, I mean what we'll do is we'll set our destination flag to false. We'll do has destination set to false as well. No, wait, what? Destination flag dot game object dot set active false. What do we have here? Has destination, and then we can stop the agent. So we'll do agent dot enabled is equal to false, like so. I think that should be good enough. There we go. And now the flag disables itself and the agent stops and is without a path. I'm surprised that the agents just walk through each other. Oh, because the navmesh agent gets disabled while they walk. What happens if I try to crisscross them? Interesting. There you go. They block each other. But yeah, that's fine. So now our navmesh agent doesn't run constantly. When it does, it does. When it doesn't, it doesn't. One other thing that I wanted to do is, so right now we do use orthographic camera. I want to change it to perspective. And I actually want the camera to be angled. And the way the game is going to work is we're going to move camera forward. So we'll have our map and we can just keep moving forward to solve our puzzles. Now, I want the camera to be at an angle. Now, and as you see, that will kind of, it's going to be quite a problem to just move it forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an empty game object. And for now, I'm going to drag it into the camera and we'll call it the camera movement controller. I'm going to drag it out of the, wait, let's go back. You're going to reset its position so it's directly above the camera, or where the camera is at. And now we're going to drag the, no, we're going to set its rotation to 0 like this, and we're going to drag in our camera. So what's going to happen now is we will just move, let's actually do it like this. So what we can do now is just scroll our camera forward with keys and whatever, and that will just keep scrolling our entire game forward as well. Well, yeah. Just have to figure out how we're gonna handle that later. But that'll be for the next part. We kind of did everything that we wanted to do. I need to figure out why the drag select selects, but not as we intended to. I presume I'm just not calling stuff properly. And there is a typo somewhere in the code. But yeah, that's it. I kind of don't want to do anything else for today. I want to do Pro Builder for the next part, as well as actually no. What am I talking about? Let's set up the triggers. Let's set up the triggers. So how are we going to, or should we leave that? Nah, let's keep everything together. So today we did selection. Next time we will do map, and we will start working on triggers. So it's all tying into each other perfectly. Yeah, I'm gonna call it quit for today. And then tomorrow we'll be back. What's tomorrow? Wednesday. We'll be back with the Mario series.